Poo, 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 poo. Kiyushka, hello. So, the skirt. Here we go. Here it is. Boom. Pretty short. All buttoned. Thank you. Yeah, I kind of powered through that. I started around 3 p.m. and ended at 1 a.m. It was a very fast job, and it also has lining. And I don't know, somehow I turbo powered through it. It was really satisfying. Thank you, Kiva. Evie, thank you so much. $95. I sent you an email, but I didn't hear anything. Let me check spam. Let me grab my laptop and I'll check the spam. Hello, 66. Okay. Let's check. What do we have here? Got it. Let's see. Today, Kiva, we're going to do Q&A. So, we're going to have random topics, rather. Can I send you an email to date? No, you can't. It violates my terms and conditions. Kiva, yes, prepare questions. All questions are welcome today. Do you know anything about the human design chart? I think I heard something about it, but if any, I have just brief exposure to this topic. Vagan Xavier, you can't. Where's email? Here it is. Hold on questions, most questions I will hold. Sure. I don't have anything in my inbox, Alexander. But Kiva, actually a very good moment to discuss. Any prominent things? Please work. Either. Alexander, we need to check whether you sent it to the right address. No, nothing on my website either. Let's do info@rawformoflife.com. Oh, Vagan. A wise person once said you can only dream. Don't ask me who is the wise person that said that, because I don't know. Maybe I was stuck in the draft. Aman Kumar, thank you so much for the words. Yeah, Kiva, yes. The stream, Mohammed, today is questions. Anything you have in mind, you can ask me. So, Aman Kumar, thank you. I'm well, and I work. Where do I work? I mean, where? I don't think that there is a location for that. Thank you, 66. Kiva, not sure what to do. Think of questions. Are you a university student? No, I'm already not a university student. It's kind of in the past, and I I am a professional at this point. Graduated with my PhD degree in 2021, so kind of past that phase probably. But I'm addicted to learning, so I always learn something new. Such as I studied for Tantra coach. And now that's who I am. Alexander, let me know if you are trying and how it's going. Because I have it open here, so if I receive it, I'll receive it. Mm-hmm. Some, by the way, big topic that I've been working on that we will be covering. Maybe tomorrow, maybe early next week, maybe on the weekend. Because this time around we have our event on the weekend. We're going to cover a topic, one of the big topics, which is related to the love languages topic that we had recently. It will be the culture of love. I want to talk about the culture of love, how to cultivate love. Because there is very natural, spontaneous component of love that happens without our effort. But all of the ideas of love, of romantic relationships, of intimacy, a lot of these things, especially after having gone through the grind of modern culture, upbringing, through some indoctrination into the class you are in, through your family, through the peers. After that, approaching your own love life is rather an artistic or intellectual pursuit, at least to a large degree. It's not just a sensual thing. It must have both components because it requires a structure to be built in which the sensual component can be enjoyed, entertained, indulged in. So we're going to be talking about the love culture and how it's built methodically. So that's what we're going to talk in the next text in there. Hello. That's what we're going to talk about soon. And that's the topic that I'm very excited about, but I want to develop it in a more well-rounded lecture. So that's why I'm taking my sweet time a little bit with it. But the culture of love is something that I've been passionate about my entire life, perhaps. Ever since I started witnessing people deeply struggling in relationships. But also another thing is that we're going to cover is what areas of life can be subjected to our cultivation of love. How we are establishing relationships with the world, with ourselves, with others. How can we build a framework, all-encompassing framework, such that it's not just me and my lover experiencing this thing or cultivating this thing. I think it's impossible to do that. It's either that a person is living it and carries it as a lifestyle, or it just doesn't happen, because it can be and should be exercised in many areas of life. So this will be a very interesting, I think, conversation that we'll have, because it's so funny. Today I wanted to search. I had an idea also to think. Some reel on Instagram sparked my thinking about it. JenFX, hello. The reel was some guy sharing some wisdom quote about relationships or something. And then I decided to see what he's up to on his page in general. And I scroll and there's another piece of wisdom. Those very concise, radical statements, very like unapologetic statements that are not really discussed in detail, or that are not broken down into particular case studies or applicability range. So it inspired my pursuits to see what are the pop culture statements or some quotes about relationships that exist out there. And I found so many funny ones said by classics, by some like philosophers, novelists. It's just such a funny thing. And also, I notice sometimes in live streams, people come to me and they drop some quotes, some mottos. People speak in quotes. And remember, by the way, we had a rule that for every quote that people read or recite in the chat, I'm also giving a quote from whatever piece of literature exists in my proximity. So that's something that we were doing as well. It used to be a thing. I want to read you some of the quotes, by the way, that I found today. There was an article, like 90 plus quotes. The article is called 90 plus powerful relationship quotes for love, healing, and growth. Let's see. Some of them are okay, but some of them are just so easy to scrutinize. Let's see. What is love? It is the morning and the evening star. Sure. Then, this statement, I really like this phrase by Elizabeth Gilbert. To be fully seen by somebody, then, and be loved anyhow, this is a human offering that can border on miraculous. This is the statement, this is a quote that I liked actually from this list. And actually, I noticed that there were a few quotes by specifically female authors or whoever they were that actually were pretty sensible. So this is one of them. And this is one that I really love and I'm really passionate about because this is a very tantric statement. I should say that to be fully seen by somebody and to be able to love them, this is one of the pillars of tantric relationships. When you are able to see yourself, feel yourself fully. Through that, you're able to see your loved one fully. And then you cultivate love. And that will be also part of our love culture talk. Then, this one is also good, by the way. It is only when we no longer compulsively need someone that we can have, it's only when we no longer compulsively need someone that we can have a real relationship with them. This is another interesting one. Anthony Storr said that. When we no longer compulsively need someone, that we can have a real relationship with them. No relationship, well, any relationship is real by definition. But I understand what he's saying, I guess. He means that this is when the clarity and relationship of not like you are my tool for fulfilling my needs, or covering my personal void that I myself need to single-handedly take care of, but you are the human. This is when we can go and have more wholesome relationship. And this ties to that statement by Elizabeth Gilbert, that's to be fully seen by somebody then and be loved anyhow. And of course, if it's reciprocated, if you can reciprocate that, this is really relatable as well. Because compulsive need for someone, this like panic, this relationship panic when, oh, I desperately need this person, like desperately need this person. This kind of rings the bells that something may be off. Something might be off balance there in the person. At least I've never witnessed the situation in which there is this obsession, especially, oftentimes it's one-sided obsession. And things are healthy. It's almost never a prerequisite for anything healthy. Some people in the New Age community, they will call it like karmic relationships, when people need to go through some deep, super potent lesson to learn something and find themselves on the other end of that. But when I look at the couples with harmony in them, often the beginning is very smooth, it's mutual, it's more calm and joyful, as opposed to some like panic. This one is very verbose, I'm not gonna read it. But it's pretty, let's see. A loving relationship is one in which the loved one is free to be himself and herself, I guess. To laugh with me, but never at me. To cry with me, but never because of me. Never. To love life, to love himself, to love being loved. Such a relationship is based upon freedom and can never grow in a jealous heart. Well, laughing probably, crying because of someone. People have different internal troubles that they may deal with. And to cry because of someone may be a part of realizing something. It can be a part of healing. Sometimes we cry because we're confused. Sometimes we cry because we feel weak in the face of something unfamiliar, something that's stronger, something that carries us to different plane of life. It can happen. To love life, to love himself, to love being loved, blah, blah, blah. I feel like it was said with a lot of gestures. Such relationship is based upon freedom and can never grow in a jealous heart. This is said by Leo F. Buscaglia. This one is a funny one. I read that today. I was like, this sounds like, thanks for clarification. But it actually, you can probably find some therapeutic value in this statement by Mark Boyer. You can tell how often a person thinks of you by how often they tell you they think of you. So this statement is, on the one hand, it's funny because, okay, thanks. It's pretty obvious on the one hand. On the other hand, it may be interpreted, especially in some immature scenarios of relationships when people live some scenarios in their head and try to interpret something, try to like, there is this genre even of songs that I will love you for both of us or something. Very teenage grade attitude per se, when you impart thoughts to someone, you impart feeling, some fantasy to someone. So this one is actually this therapeutic statement that you can tell how often they think about you by how often they tell you they think about you. So that's like this beautiful recipe for life heavily devoid of this projection, unnecessary projection, and this fantasy that can carry you into very strange realms, I would say. I think love is a state of being. If you are in the right state of mind, it doesn't just apply to relationships. I think you can be in love with life and the world around you, not 100% of the time, though. Fair, yeah. Absolutely, actually. Erich Fromm. Immature love says, I love you because I need you. Mature love says, I need you because I love you. Well, yeah, this is the distinction in a sense between treating people as tools. Broski digs, hello. And treating people as companions, rather. Equal companions, equal like respect and seeing humans in them. Probably that's something along those lines. Where is my charger? Let's charge our laptop. 1 second, by the way. Then, the best proof of love is trust, says Joyce Brothers. The best proof of love is trust. Joyce Brothers clearly had some trust issues. I think was partially perhaps in relationships or in some trauma associated with unreliable attachment. So that's what this statement, the best proof of love is trust, tells me. Hello. So Joyce Brothers would benefit probably from some contemplation of why proof of love is necessary to begin with, and why trust is the biggest pillar of that. Because if you love someone, you don't need a proof for that. You just feel it. Hello, Anu. Why do you need a proof for feeling? And if you are seeking for proof from someone, and you are basing it off trust, then it's more about entering contractual relationships. It's more about seeking some security. So Joyce Brothers is coming from this fundamental insecurity, rather, in my impression. But trust and love, of course, if your goal is to build stable attachment, then yes, trust is an integral component of that. Probably don't attempt to build relationships with person that you can trust. But does it necessarily ensure or prove love? In general, I'm very skeptical about people who are seeking those proofs. Prove me that I am the one. Prove me that you will do that. Prove me this. Prove me that. If these dynamics happen, then I'm really skeptical about the whole thing, I should say. Do you think they're actual pillars of love? We'll talk about the culture of love in one of the next streams, and we'll discuss it. But again, love is such a funny topic because love has so many interpretations, and that's what I'm reading for fun today, is the quotes about love. Because how differently people perceive it. And even people with some, I guess, philosophical or narrator background. So it's interesting to reflect on that. With seeking proof, I think that will be endless. Yes, Kiva. Of course, because life changes, new situations emerge all the time. And if you are just testing your partner all the time, it's pretty exhausting path, I would say. Thank you, Evie, so much. The love of the family, the love of one person can heal. It heals the scars left by a larger society. Maya Angelou said that. So, love of the family, the love of one person can heal. It heals the scars left by a larger society. If you're lucky, sometimes people, if it's coming back to the beginning, when you are seen fully as a human in your entirety, and when you're encouraged by that love to pursue your integrity, instead of being with a partner who tries to squeeze you into social framework, be that, be this, do that, and this will be a condition of my love, then they're two contradicting, and the two dynamics that that this statement actually separates and shows us the importance of that ability, that skill to love a human and see the human wholly. In and out of the context of society. Without, how I was always saying that how funny it is that people don't trust their own choice, they don't trust their own authority over their relationship, and they try to delegate that authority to some state, to the government, in the form of marital agreements. So they don't, for example, they don't treat their relationship choice, they don't treat their own sympathy, they don't treat their the partner of choice as something valid. They don't treat their relationship as something valid just because they chose it. But they wait for the government authority to stamp something on a piece of paper such that it suddenly becomes legit. Paxton Bear, thank you. I've been fine. How have you been? Haven't heard from you in a while. It's exhausting and time-consuming to seek. Yes, alright, gift, yes. That's why, just talking about, just to preface one of the upcoming live streams about building love culture, I decided to skim through the quotes about love and relationships today, just for fun. Do you think everyone is capable of love? I don't think so. Maybe. I don't see a lot, really. Alexander, this is everyone means that I need to prove you that in 100% of cases the statement holds true, which means that there is not a single case that contradicts it, which is mathematically too ambitious of a problem because we're dealing with statistical world of many, many, many variables that makes it hard to describe any more or less complex system. So I have no answer to that. Maybe of being cordial and reciprocal, but not loving. Kiva, that's why. Love is a two-way street and constantly under construction. Carol Bryant. This is a funny one. Then, this one is absolutely nuts. This section is called Navigating Long-Distance Relationships. And some statements here are absolutely nuts. So Roger de Bussy-Reboutin said, "Absence is to love what wind is to fire. It extinguishes the small, it inflames the great." This to me is kind of points to me to the era where it likely was possible, where the statement was written or conceived. I think that this statement is from some romantic era where perhaps the first waves of something more or less contemporary in the realm of romantic relationships and love was developed, because what we understand as love, the shape of relationships, the class differences in relationships have been all shaped over just the past couple of centuries. Romantic love between man and woman was invented also just very recently, because for centuries there was quite utilitarian role of a woman. And so-called romantic love was an invention, and it obeyed certain code of conduct, certain rules. So what we know as romantic love is quite synthetic. So this one, I think, points, and I'm actually curious to check where Roger de Bussy-Reboutin was alive, what were his contemporaries. I won't be able to check because I turned off the internet, but the idea of love with the ideal, you know, this sounds like hope, yes. You're in love with an ideal, you're in love with a statue, you're in love with a photograph, you are in love with some impression that you made by looking at the person. They sparked something, ignited something in your mind, and now you're carrying this image and you are just living in this fantasy. And the less you encounter the actual real human, the more this fantasy can propagate and develop in your mind. This is what it sounds to me. The person was in that situation, was not actually equipped or did not have a value for real life relationships, likely was highly influenced by those idealistic view of love, this great, immense, very artistic love. And this is what this statement created, that absence is to love what wind is to fire. It extinguishes the small, it inflames the great. Your love is great. You can be apart for a decade and be insanely in love for that decade. And that will be the biggest, the greatest love for sure. Because it will all live in your imagination. And we all been to school. We all had our first encounters with people who we had crush on. And we lived through those fantasies, and it was quite intoxicating, I should say. So this statement, to me, paints in the early stage of romantic love concept that we know of right now. But it has nothing to do with what's the black clip near your necklaces? It's Mike. It has nothing to do with building relationship in the real world with real humans. Then distance means so little when someone means so much, Tom McNeil said. This also kind of points to some when you hyperfixate on someone, when you also tend to just sink in some fantasy world and be satisfied by that. This is what I read there as well. And this one is absolutely nuts. This statement is absolutely nuts. Next one. The art of love is largely the art of persistence, says Albert Ellis. Albert Ellis probably was quite uncomfortable person to be around, I should say, if the art of love is largely the art of persistence. And this one is also absolutely nuts. What's your favorite fact about love? Fact? I don't know. I can't name you. If you've Anna Agoncillo said the following. Maybe he meant the constant fight to maintain it. Art of persistence, I don't know, it's just... It sounds really bad to me. It sounds very uncomfortable. And that it's the art of love is largely the art of persistence. Persistence. It's a very heavy, pushy word. I don't know. Not consistency. It's not the art of art and persistence. Is art largely persistence? Art is largely development. Art is largely a pursuit of cleaner mastery. Persistence is has this resistance feel to it. I don't know. To me, I love to treat art, any form of art, as cleaning, cleansing, clearing your skill, clearing your mastery, finding the core of your mastery. This is, to me, how to develop an art. Persistence, though, I don't know, conflicted. But a good outlook on that. Thank you, Broski Diggs. No, Kiva. So, this one by Anna Agoncillo is absolutely nuts. Let's read it. If you found that one person who is really worth the sacrifices, pain, and hardships, then your efforts will not go to waste. Anna Gonchila was heavily misled lady. Find the chemical reaction that people go through mentally, physically to be pretty interesting when in love. Chad, hello. Hello, a great on. So, if you found that one person who is really worth the sacrifices, pain, and hardships, then your efforts will not go to waste. This is a part of the best quotes about love and relationships. By Anna Agoncillo. Yes, Alexandra, same reaction. Remember the metaphor of bloody bucket, where people throw parts of themselves and sit then and wait for some payback by having given something that was essential to them. This is not love. This has nothing to do with love. This is one of the dangerous behaviors. And then in practice, if we look at the forums, if we look at the comments, if we look at the media, if we look at the many reports, if we look at the diaries of women from the past, it's an incredible fallacy because they just find themselves at some point completely broken down, not having lived any life, lost themselves, been treated absolutely terribly because they thought that the object of their feeling can be fixed, can pay them back with dividends, with some interest. That's such a fallacy. Anna Agoncillo made it to this list. And I deeply disagree with this statement. It's fame of Jesus Christ doesn't leave people alone sometimes. It's not. Thank you, Lane. Pranav Kumar. Hello. Reading quotes about love and relationships today. The best quotes, powerful quotes. To prepare us, to prime us for the upcoming topic on building love culture. Thank you, Pranav. I'm also happy. Kivashka, thank you. Yes, all right, gift. I'm adding all of this to my love database in my brain. Wonderful. Okay. Wisdom on marriage and commitment. Mignon McLaughlin said, a successful relationship requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. Successful relationship. What do we define as a successful relationship? The relationship that lasts, the relationship that's happy? People will define it differently. Falling in love many times. Why fall in love? Falling in love many times as if you go to some beginning. And then he also says, always with the same person. Person changes. You are both in evolution. You are changing, the person changes, ideally. You are evolving. Are you falling in love or are you evolving in love? Why fall in love? As if, to me, if I was to read this Mignon McLaughlin from the context of what happens in many relationships, I see in this some ill cycle, actually. I can kind of stretch this observation onto this statement that a person is going through some cyclical relationship, those dynamics of colder, warmer, crisis, love bombing, then guilt, love bombing, or guilt, aggression, love bombing, something like that. These cycles come to my mind when you are kind of falling in love. There are some tips of how to maintain passion in relationships is to create emotional swings. Or there are people who intentionally or almost intentionally do some things that upset the partner to kind of reignite the relationships. There are people who utilize jealousy. There are people who utilize substance abuse. Something to keep the partner hooked. And these are those what's considered kind of unethical ways of keeping the relationship going, the fire going. But this is what this statement inspires me to think about. Despite the fact that I also agree with part of it, if I was to interpret it in my own fashion. I can interpret it in both ways. Chad, bombing. I don't know how to say it properly. One where you sit on the same couch and doom scroll for 45 years. Lol, nightmare. Ooh, Kate Stewart. Gen FX, of course. Nope. Kate Stewart shared this gem with us. A perfect marriage is just two imperfect people who won't give up on each other. Just think about this. Kate Stewart lives in a effing nightmare. A perfect marriage. So we are looking at perfecting marriage. We're perfecting something that is only facing the society. A perfect marriage is just two basically pieces of shit, two imperfect people who won't, despite all odds, who won't give up on each other. It's like such a... If Kate Stewart lived by this rule, Kate Stewart's life would resemble a life of some stereotypical Russian couple, like from my childhood, perhaps. Like, you know how women would be like something like, "No, Natash, he doesn't drink at least," or "He drinks, but at least he brings some money home. What do you want?" Or "He beats you, but he at least takes care of children." Something like that. This is just the life of this constant, deep compromise for the sake of this perfect marriage, which again has historically been facing the society. It is for society when you're looking at your relationships through the societal optics. Hearing a recurring theme of persistence, which yes, doesn't sound very sexy. Yeah, it's as if there is no sensuality, as if we're talking past erotic death. Like erotic death happened and all of that stuff began. So Kate Stewart, again, let's recite it. Fantastic statement. Fantastic motto that you can record for your for your future endeavors to uplift you. A perfect marriage is just two imperfect people who won't give up on each other. The statement smells so good. John Florio, next. A good husband makes a good wife. A good husband makes a good wife. How about that? This is a fallacy. Sometimes a good husband... The stream is relaxing. Yeah, Kiva, it's also fun, kind of. The change of pace. We're working with actual material today. With, something that perhaps affects people. So, good husband makes a good wife. It's so interesting because what are the criteria for a good husband? Sometimes society will regard some person as an incredibly good husband, such a good husband. And then they would be looking at the wife and be like, but she's absolutely nuts. Or vice versa. She's such a good wife, she's such a benevolent woman, but her husband is absolute tyrant, he's absolutely nuts. How often this scenario plays out. Very fun too. Yeah. Alexander, I have that relationship with the punching bag in the gym. We're in love. Dwayne, sounds like he's hanging the success of the partnership entirely on the shoulders of the man. Yeah, it might be a John Florio. We also need to check the time frame. Perhaps that was the time when wife was just an accessory in the house or some utility in the house. So we don't know. Because again, we're talking about marriage depending on the time frame when these statements were inspired. We're dealing with institutions that were artificially shaped. Oh my God. Odjan Nash said, to keep your marriage brimming with love in the loving cup, whenever you're wrong, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up. Do you agree with the statement? To keep your marriage brimming with love in the loving cup, whenever you're wrong, admit it. Whenever you're right, shut up. Do you need to shut up when you think you're right? When do you need to shut up when you already said something that was right? When do you shut up in this algorithm for achieving love brimming in the loving cup? Alexander's 50-50 on that one. Feels like it's quite situational. Also, sometimes, by the way, it's important to highlight that you're right, because sometimes the dynamic in relationship is such as that one person is always right, the other person is like submissive, and they kind of lose their self-esteem to that. So they become this fool, and they start fearing expressing their opinion, or they start fearing expressing their point of view, their stance on things. Sometimes it's good to affirm and remind that you also can be right if you are in the position when you have been suppressed by the partner. To show that you also can hold a valid opinion or valid point of view. I think it's quite situational. These statements, they always can be dissected into particular cases. Why I don't like speaking in mottos is because every statement like that, especially the more radical the statement is, those statements, they are lacking finesse, they're lacking nuance to them. I suppose silence would only work if you truly believe the right is subjective. Yep. Then also, in partnership, I think, in easygoing, pleasant partnership, your partner would be celebrating with you that you are right. Because it's pleasant. I mean, your loved one said something that changed perhaps your point of view, that revealed a perspective that you haven't thought of, that you haven't that you haven't thought about before. So you can celebrate that as well. Perhaps this is something to strive for, not to be scared of showing your forte, not showing your rightness. This to me sounds kind of ill. Oh, Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh was painting, and said the following: love is something eternal. The aspect may change, but not the essence. That's how Vincent van Gogh was thinking about love. So we're gonna move on. So Joyce Brothers, actually, Joyce Brothers brings us to something on par with building love culture, I guess. Marriage is not just spiritual communion. It is also remembering to take out the trash. Joyce Brothers here brought up a good point. The actionable aspect of love. How we are contributing not only to the sensual, emotional, intellectual garden of love, but we're also building the garden of our life together in the real life as well. So yeah, it actually can be a part of one of the languages of love. When people share certain duties and when they actually acknowledge them. Remember, we were talking about that in one of the recent streams. Kiva inspired that. That not taking things for granted in a couple just as is important just as much as actually doing things contributing to overall well-being of a couple is also quite important. Van's right. That's the dimensional aspect. Pleasant to have a handshake with Van Gogh, I guess. Kiva. Fawn Weaver said something very concise, but very true in my opinion. Happily ever after is not a fairy tale. It's a choice. It is a choice indeed. Remember how we're talking about how the focal point, the currency can be suffering. Suffering buys joy, suffering buys this and that. How we can base our life on sacrifice, on bringing bloody bucket into relationships and just like cutting pieces of meat and throwing them, expecting more and more dividend from that sacrifice. Here, Fawn Weaver inspires us to think about putting happiness, pursuit of happiness, organizing, not even pursuing happiness, organizing happiness, putting it in the focal plane, such that we can move towards it together. We can build a plan how we're going to achieve it. We're going to build relationships focusing on moving to that goal or actually experiencing this state as much as possible. For example, we're revisiting what is now unhappiness in our life. What is now unhappiness in our relationship? Let's act upon that. Let's not settle for unhappiness. Fawn Weaver. I'm shaking hands with Fawn Weaver. Giselle Bündchen said the following. The model Giselle Bündchen never considered suffering as a currency. Wonderful, Dwayne. But he also always resided in that dimension, which is why he was terrible at it. He was multitasking. Super. So let's hear what Giselle Bündchen said about marriage. When I'm weak, you can be strong. When I'm strong, you can be weak. That's what I believe marriage is. Marriage, I think, is much more than that. But I guess if that's the centerpiece of Giselle's perception of marriage, let it be. I disagree that it's the essence of marriage. I disagree that it's the focal point of marriage to focus on support. But it's interesting to analyze why Giselle prioritizes specifically the aspect of support. Specifically, this like deficit, compensating for the deficit. To me, this sounds interesting. Why for Giselle this is the essence? Because when we think, when people are like, okay, formulate what is this for you? They perhaps will also think many things that can describe a certain phenomenon. But they will share something that's most prominent, something that exists as the domineering thing in their mind or in their life, some mode of operation that is quite common for their life. So this thing, when I'm weak, you can be strong. When I'm strong, you can be weak. Kind of points to compensation. Let's compensate for our deficits. There's surely a place for that. Of course, in any partnership, there is surely a place for that mutual support. There is always place for one person is the container has full container of energy right now. The other person has very low container of energy or low charge container in the container of energy. Or one person is right now blooming in something, very inspired. The other person may struggle at something in life. These imbalances, they do happen. But is that the essence of relationships? To have this dynamic? Marriage is a vow, simple as, I think you can get married with zero love if you want. Fair? Marriage, yeah, it's institutionalization of relationship. But yeah, you can think of it in many different ways. You can conceptualize it however you want, whatever your perception of it is, for sure. Pearl S. Buck said something that I think I'm always going to shake their hands for. A good marriage is one which allows for change and growth in the individuals and in the way they express their love. I agree with that. I agree with that. Martin Luther. We all know the context here. There is no more lovely, friendly, and charming relationship, communion, or company than a good marriage. The next chapter that we're going to dig into is building trust in relationships. Any comments on the previous one? Let's wait a couple of seconds and we'll move on. So trust doesn't show up overnight. It builds slowly through small, consistent actions over time. Okay, fair. I'm going to start with Maya Angelou. This topic, by the way, building trust in relationships, is something very important. Honesty, trust are, I don't know if they're underrated, but I would name them as very important components of relationships. Building intimate relationships, building any form of partnership requires trust. Trust is a choice also. Yes, it is. And being able to converse openly about things is an insane tool. It's an insane virtue of any relationships, in my opinion. And I think it's an invaluable thing. It's really sad that for many couples, having a conversation. Thank you so much, Evie. It's very sad that for many couples, a conversation where people discuss and say, express every desire, every concern, every idea, every fear of theirs with each other is impossible. When people hide an insane amount of themselves, not being able to reveal it in a cordial conversation with their partner, it builds frustration, it builds an insane amount of tension. It eventually develops into an authenticity. It develops also, it breaks contact between people. It makes the whole vector of relationship skewed, unclear, as if it like goes into some fog. And it also largely affects the intimate life as well. If you break trust and lie, everything said after is technically a lie. I think this is what causes forget. Okay. Apologies, друзья, have to celebrate the gifts. Thank you, Kivashka. So trust is something. Trust and honesty and authenticity. Thank you so much. Something that I'm incredibly passionate about. In Tantra, you know that Tantra, one of the important integral components of Tantra, Tantric lifestyle, Tantric method is authenticity, integrity, wholesomeness. So that built on your own for your own then translates into relationships as well. At the same time, having some hidden component of your personality is something that you think is shameful. Because why can't you share something with the person you're with? Either because the person is not a good candidate for being in a relationship with you, or because you yourself are ashamed of something about you. You are ashamed, you don't accept it, you have concept, which means some external set of eyes that look at it for you. You're afraid of your desires, you're afraid to face your needs, you're afraid to state what you really want in life, you're afraid to face everything that composes you. And this is not the advantageous or healthy position to be in. It's not sustainable. So Maya Angelou says, have enough courage to trust love one more time and always one more time. This is a little bit interesting statement. Trust love one more time and always one more time. I guess have enough courage, have enough courage. This is an imperative thing for us guys. This is a command from Maya Angelou. Have enough courage to trust love one more time. If you don't trust love, you're a coward, okay? Broski digs, what if love is the distance between you and your attachments? Write it down, Broski digs. Let's think about it. So Maya tells us that you are a coward if you don't trust love one more time. For instance, a person a person goes through some very crazy relationship story, like where they got completely abolished. Like the person is broken down. But Maya tells them, don't worry. Are you a coward or not? If you're brave, see that guy? Jump right in. Trust love. For a person who just went through something like that, it will be a little bit nuts if for them the definition of love is a little bit perverted. I'm not saying it to diminish that person, but I'm just to point that they have quite distorted perception of what love is. Hence, This recipe only applies to very healthy people, very physically healthy people. Okay, it's not even not talking about psychological wellness. I'm talking specifically about physically insanely healthy people. So this advice from Maya applies to very passionate, very energetic, lively people who just temperament wise, excitement wise, excitability wise, their brain has such structure and their level of health allow to jump from carousel to carousel. To trust love. What is trust love? Trust your love, your sense of love. Why do you need to trust love? Why do you need to trust it one more time? If trust was broken, for instance, why do you need to trust it? Because this statement kind of insinuates that the trust was broken. Why would you jump from trust to trust? To me, a lot of things don't make sense in this, by Maya Angelou. I think it's for people also who seek romantic thrill, which is an honorable thing if people are sober about this preference. But at the same time, there's so many curious scenarios that take place in life. I think it's, people enjoy that stuff. But again, it's really draining for the physical body. It's really draining for the body. If a person especially is very dependent, if a person really seeks some interpenetration with others, if the person cannot function autonomously, if a person is not really self-centered and balanced, such that they just go for romantic endeavors just for entertainment, if they're actually seeking some super crash, dissolution, explosion in that, and they lose themselves each time, and they go through this suffering, then this recipe is not sustainable over long term. It only will work for a short period of time. Especially in the modern reality. Where people need to work a lot. Where environment is highly competitive, so Lauryn Hill. Be honest, brutally honest. That is what's going to maintain relationships. Relationships, I wonder if she means all relationships or not, or just or partners, like intimate partnership. Be honest, brutally honest. What does brutally honest mean compared to honest? What makes honesty brutal, I wonder? I think that love is found somewhere we're not looking for it, and therefore truth is found. That's being brutally honest. What do you think of me, quote? Sounds like she's saying don't be so quick so to disregard or give up on it. More persistence talk. Yeah, Dwayne. As well. But then again, it kind of defeats the properties of psyche, because the person hurt once, yes, they will go to either get hurt again or they will get scared to get hurt again, but unconsciously they will choose to get hurt again. So they will be building barrier of that trust. This is like speaking about Maya Angelou. So what distinguishes brutally honest from honest? Something I don't understand. Brutally honest, like saying that, bro, your feet smell. Or, or instead of, my dear, I need to tell you something very delicate. Perhaps you would want to take care of it. I think maybe you should try something with your feet or shoes, some shoes hygiene. Maybe let's get you some, I don't know, whatever, whatever tools are there or sprays are there for shoes. Something delicate, such that you don't hurt the person by dishonest. You're still honest, but you're approaching it through a more delicate way, building more care, building more beauty and delicacy inside of your garden of life and love, as opposed to just like crushing some truths because you are Mr. or Mrs. Honesty. I'm a fan of Lauren's music. That quote doesn't surprise me. She's a pretty blunt lady. Well, you probably don't know what brutally honest means compared to honest. Let me go grab some tea. We're back. Jerry and Eileen Spinelli. A strong relationship is an honest relationship, and no honest relationship is all peaches and cream. Love is the key. Where love abides, anger is but a passing visitor. Sure. Ты чихнул, мой сладкий. Ты что там чихаешь? Let's read John Gottman's statement. Trust is built as you express compassion and empathy for one another's feelings. And this foundation is essential when you face the inevitable betrayal. Betrayal exists in every relationship. More often than not, the betrayals accumulate like small dents. Other times, they arrive like a sudden crash. In both cases, they present a unique opportunity for trust building. Here we're dealing with semantics and also radicalism, because the statement is quite strong. Betrayal exists in every relationship. When you face the inevitable betrayal, what is meant by betrayal here? Betrayals accumulate like small dents. The trust is built as you express compassion and empathy for one another's feelings. I think trust is built when you act with consideration of your partner's interests and feelings as well, with care, which is like, yeah, compassion and empathy. But you don't just express them, you are acting in accordance to them. I think this is where I would pick, this would be my first pick at this statement, like local pick. And this foundation is essential when you face the inevitable betrayal. I would word it as disappointment. I would not word as betrayal, because betrayal is violation of trust, essentially, when there was some agreement. Agreement failed. If he thinks about the assumed agreements, something that was never discussed, but something just didn't satisfy your expectations, is that a betrayal? I don't know. Maybe disappointment, maybe the not met expectations, but betrayal. And in both cases, betrayals present a unique opportunity for trust building. Or they don't. John Gottman, I think, is quite either misled or misleading or both. This statement is not satisfying at all. It can be scrutinized in so many ways. John Gottman, no thanks. Time and love seem similar to me. Time is the distance between objects. If love is the distance between you and your attachments, love could be a moral interpretation of perceiving something in time. Broski digs, the way you work with information, the way you process things is quite curious to me. Please write this all down and let's think about it, because you have very interesting ideas and very quick ideas as well. Then we are ready, from trust, we are ready to move to romantic expressions of love. John Gottman was incidentally the closing note on trust, which is the most, perhaps, questionable statement of all of these. So, questionable in many facets. Romantic expressions of love. Let me just skim through them. Yeah, disappear into me, yes. Romantic expressions of love. I'm just going through the article. Can we find anything here? I mean, it's just some romantic quotes. Oh my god, the last statement here. Kermit the Frog. I absolutely love statements like that. They bring me back to the beginning of social media when people started writing those, some like notes that represent their current state of affairs, their current motto. So, Kermit the Frog is vibing with us. Maybe. It's like R&B, you know? It feels like R&B here. Maybe you don't need the whole world to love you. Maybe you just need one person. Maybe, Kermit. Maybe. Maybe not. You know? It's like that. Maybe. Just be smooth. Wiz, hello. I can write for next Zoom, broski. Yes. Maybe. Baby. Maybe. I love, though, however, I love when people soften their statements sometimes. When the statement can be challenged, it's good to soften it. It's good to give it some flexibility, because if you cannot prove that 100% of cases it's correct, and you want to state it at the level higher than your personal opinion, then yeah, maybe it's a respectable construction to use. Relating love to time scares me, but yes, I see your point. I see, broski, already your point is being validated. I need to sit and think about it. That's why I don't want to discuss it yet. Oh my god. Oh my god. Let me read through it by myself. Richard Bach. I actually read his novel, after which I wanted to become a pilot. And I wanted to become a pilot for many years. But Richard Bach says the following. A soulmate is someone who has locks that fit our keys, and keys to fit our locks. When we feel safe enough to open the locks, our truest selves step out, and we can be completely and honestly who we are. We can be loved for who we are and not what we're pretending to be. The rest of the statement is I agree with. The first statement, a soulmate is someone who has locks that fit our keys and keys to fit our locks, is something to think about it because not always this system works right away. Not always. It is apparent on all levels. This search, this dynamics can be evolving over time for many, many years. Thank you. Because sometimes, it's like, oh, this person is definitely my soulmate within the first month. Sometimes it's hard to say it this way. Sometimes it's just the feeling of safety. Some like warm security with a person. But then there can be so many years of grinding and actually going through some hard core alignment to fit those things, to find that harmony in some areas. It can be like that. Work on both ends. That each time points to some vulnerability or dysfunction in each person. It's not that effortless, it's not that easy sometimes. And then also life reveals different things. Life demands different things from us. It's a dynamic system. And then also you don't even know which locks you have. You don't know which keys you have. So it's a little bit deeper. Thank you guys. Disappearing to me. Very happy that you came. James Miller. Thank you. Holm J. Thank you. Doing well. Thank you. How are you? Oh, Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde is being a hypocrite here. I think you don't love someone for their looks, or their clothes, or their fancy car, but because they sing a song only you can hear. It would be, I think, more honest of Oscar to write you don't love someone only for their looks. I don't understand why he brings juxtaposition. Why do you need to dissect a person? These are looks, these are words, these are thoughts, these are actions. This is their social status. Now what's up, Paxton Bear? Is this topic not vibing with you? Not sitting with you? So Oscar Wilde is a little bit, I think, pursuing. You know how sometimes we create those like idols among the like philosophers or recognized people for what they're saying, and or we read what they're saying as like, wow, that's deep, that's truth. Here, I think Oscar Wilde was just writing perhaps to one of his lovers that perhaps were not their type as they thought. I don't know. I think that's something along those lines. Somebody probably inspired this phrase because they were not the type of Oscar Wilde that that he would usually go for. and didn't have social status. But probably this indulgent person likely quite spoiled, and quite spoiled sexually and sensually. Was just going for just new another experience, and this is where this phrase was born from, because I don't think that it's the ultimate truth that he abide. So not sure where it came from, but yeah, a little funky. How are you? How long has it been going? We can discuss after we're done with this list. So think about what you want to share, if anything, and how we can work with that. Michel Ayor said, "It can only be true love when you enable your other half to be better, to be the person they're destined to be." Ideal, I guess. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss says the following: "You know you're in love when you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams." If you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams, I can dissect this statement in so many ways. Because finally better than your dreams means that there was a period of deep disappointment. There was a period where a person was pursuing escapism through the dreams. Imagine the horrendous situation here. Dr. Seuss is describing the nightmare of a person who lived so unhappily, so unsatisfyingly, that they were looking to fall asleep each night, to have dreams, to carry them away from the horror of reality, okay? That's their beginning point. And then, now, they're in love and they can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than their dreams. If they can't fall asleep, this means that they are completely right now draining their adrenal glands. They are incredibly overloaded with emotions that they can't handle, they can't contain. Their body is unable to process this thing healthily. There's so much electricity because of this overexcitement with this new experience they can't handle at all. And they are in love. Dr. Seuss makes conclusion that this is what being in love is. And when they can't fall asleep, does this mean that they're not in love anymore? When they return to some sobriety, when they return to some ground, maybe, hopefully, eventually, does this mean that they're no longer in love? Dr. Seuss is kind of gives us very interesting phrase to pick apart here. Yeah, I mean, actually, those like butterfly moments, I mean, they're really wonderful. They're really beautiful. But the context is really, really scary here. Thank you, Brasky Digdon. Hope you're enjoying it. Sounds like he's turned someone into a fantasy, a standard too hard for that person to maintain. Exactly, that's another facet of that. Too good to be true comes to mind. Dr. Seuss' phrase is kind of similar to how he said he can define joy as suffering if you think something good could mean something bad in the future. Yeah, also, by the way, also good catch here. The person will be so insanely anxious about this being in love because they know the nightmare of having life much worse than your dreams. God, it's such a scary phrase. And I'm reminding you on romantic expressions of love chapter. Hello, Shuriken. We're doing such a fun thing today. We're reading 90 plus phrases and quotes about love and relationships. So we're now in the chapter romantic expressions of love. So Dr. Seuss, another red flag here. Bruce Lee. Let's see what Bruce Lee has to say about love. Bruce Lee views love as following. Love is like a friendship caught on fire. In the beginning a flame, very pretty and often hot and fierce, but still only light and flickering. As love grows older, our hearts mature and our love becomes as coals, deep burning and unquenchable. I don't know, I did some barbecue. I don't vibe with this phrase too much. I don't know. Bruce Lee came at the right time, apparently. Yeah. Love is like a friendship caught on fire. In the beginning, a flame very pretty, often hot and fierce, but still only light and flickering. As love grows older, our hearts mature and our love becomes as coals, deep burning and unquenchable. I don't like the analogy of something having to burn. I don't like the analogy of something having to die for some other thing to become real. Because friendship here kind of gets sacrificed into the flame, I would imagine. Some component burns off. I don't know. This analogy doesn't sit right with me. Paxton, mainly today, and just want to say thank you again for being so kind to understand your email. It really touched me. So great, I love you and your channel. Thank you so much. So I think Lee sometimes said things just to sound fancy and mysterious, so to play into the Eastern wisdom trope. Well, I think he didn't get the grow old part right because he died early. It might be mean to say, but he didn't grow old. So he didn't know truly what it became. Wait for this one. Okay. This is another one that you put on early social media, or if you want to put it somewhere in your stories when you want to get a girl, okay? Write it down. Nicole Krauss. Once upon a time, there was a boy who loved a girl, and her laughter was a question he wanted to spend his whole life answering. Yo! Just put it on your social media. If you have a crush on someone, just put it there. Write it down. Once upon a time, there was a boy who loved a girl, and her laughter was a question he wanted to spend his whole life answering. Can you laugh with questioning intonation, by the way? So these things sound like they came out of fortune cookie. Yup. If I had dating profile, I'll put it there. Yes. And also this maybe guy, we already read him. Kermit the Frog. Okay. About maybe you don't need. So the two last phrases are something that you put in your profile. Maybe you don't need the whole world. Just give it a thought, okay? Maybe you don't need the whole world to love you. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just need one person. Kermit the Frog actually has narcissistic personality disorder, I think. A little bit of NPD going on here with Kermit the Frog. You know, like, you're sitting like one day like, maybe I don't need the whole world to love me. In fact, maybe I need my mom to love me. Or something. Maybe you just need one person. Just thinking, you know. Maybe you don't need the whole world to love you. Just one person. Oh, can you imagine that? Whole world, one person. Maybe. Just maybe, you know, maybe. I'm just bullshitting, sorry. Kermit does think he will be over the entire ring. The next chapter is finding humor in love and relationships. Let's find humor. So, laughter keeps relationships healthy. These quotes celebrate the lighter side of love. So far, yeah, we've covered the most heavy-duty stuff. Oh, this is good. Will Ferrell said the following. Before you marry a person, you should first make them use a computer with slow internet service to see who they really are. Oh my God. This is so true. This is an ultimate test. And the funny thing, oh my God, I personally can't use MacBooks because no matter how high I set the speed of the trackpad or the mouse, they're too effing slow for me. I absolutely can't stand that. It's so terrible. And when there's any lag, my touchpad is always set to the maximum speed. I can't handle it to be just a little bit insensitive, just a little bit slow. Just can't. It really is a temperament test, I think. Then Rita Rudner, let's read what Rita Rudner has to say here. I love being married. It's so great to find one special person you want to annoy for the rest of your life. Audience laughing. Natasha Leggero. Love is telling someone their hair extensions are showing. Sure. Ron the Handsome. My husband says I treat him like he's a god. Every meal is a burnt offering. This one is a good one. Charles M. Schultz. All you need is love. But a little chocolate now and then doesn't hurt. This is also something that we put on our social media profiles. Erich Siegel. True love comes quietly, without banners or flashing lights. If you hear bells, get your ears checked. Okay. Oh, next chapter is something that we're probably going to skip because it's too cloying. Let me charge my phone. Ah! Chess is falling. So this article also has chapter Sweet Expressions of Affection. um, Love is a spice with many tastes, a dizzying array of textures and moments. Newman from Seedville. uh, oh my god! Oh my god! It's so tacky. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We should read it. Sweet expressions of affection. Unknown author. You are the peanut butter to my jelly. Okay. Paul Valery says, love is being stupid together. The next one will melt your heart. I admonished you. Elizabeth Evans. I love you more than coffee. But please don't make me prove it. Yay. Unknown author. Every time I see you, I fall in love all over again. Ooh, this one too. If you're having a crush on someone, you must put it in your stories and social media. Let's be weird and wonderful together. You're the bear claw in the trash bag of my life. Paxton Bear. You know what to do. Put it on social media. Let's be weird and wonderful together. Oh my god. Oh my god. We are going to get molten right now. We're going to get caramel oozing out of our ears right now. Ooh. Unknown author as well. Sometimes I look at you and I wonder how I got to be so damn lucky. Only sometimes, you know, sometimes. The next chapter is Paxton Bear. Broski digs. We are moving. We are moving with something mystic. Me, hello. We are moving to some interesting chapter that's titled "Finding Strength After Breakups." I think. What's her name? Maya Angelou already primed us for that with her, with her, have enough courage to trust love one more time and always one more time. So we're going to find strength after breakups now. Bob Marley. Truth is everybody's going to hurt you. You just gotta find the ones worth suffering for. Behind the screens are middle fingers. I'm showing them in the ether. Halle Berry. We're still, imagine Halle Berry in some, what? Is it Bob Marley Ball? What? I don't know. It's always a relief ridding oneself of a turd. That's a good one. So, definitely would compliment this article. Imagine Halle Berry with the mic in some political hearings. And we're still looking for love. And that will always be our struggle as human beings. Thank you. This was a powerful statement by Halle Berry. Wayne Dyer. How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. Sure. Willa Cather actually says something wise. Willa Cather shares with us that the heart of another is a dark force. Always. Always. No matter how close it has been to one's own. We can go down the rabbit hole of complete philosophical concept of unique perception of the world. And that there is no guarantee that the other person sees the world in the same fashion as we do, for sure. But the dark forest, I mean, the heart of another. No, rather brain. I don't like this thing about the heart. The brain, the mind. No matter how close it has been to one's own. How about conversation? I mean, I disagree with this. Yeah, there is of course some limit that we can bypass, which is that the other person does perceive the world through a different lens. But relationship is its own dedicated space, and we can tailor it. We can come to some common ground. We conduct conversations. We sit with each other. We understand things about each other simultaneously as we're understanding things about ourselves. Pretty strong statement. Too strong statement, I think, for the concept. I would want a little bit more finesse to it. Ooh, this is epic. This is epic. Put it in your social media. Humphrey Bogart. And love is not the father. So we're putting this in social media again. I was born when you kissed me. I died when you left me. I lived a few weeks while you loved me. Reminds me, some stereotype that comes to mind, stereotypical image comes to mind. An older guy who is deeply misunderstood by the entire world, intellectual alcoholic, who seeks some sensation of feeling alive, likely in younger girl, or more energetic girl, more energetic woman. So that's the stereotype that comes to my mind. And he lives with this deep void, incredibly depressed person, incredibly feeling misunderstood. And then this is the statement of that person. I was born when you kissed me. I died when you left me. I lived a few weeks while you loved me. This is a codependency blueprint. Hello, Hannah. Through these quotes, I think we're learning that the experience of love varies wildly from one person to the next. Yes. Are you talking about Bukowski? This is Humphrey Bogart. The worst she can say is, no, it was boring when you kissed me. I died. Hannah, a little bit, but always welcome to watch the replay. Today we are priming for love culture video that I'm going to prepare lecture for sometime soon, and we're reading 90 plus powerful relationship quotes. So we're reading through them. This statement is so nuts. It's so nuts. Uh, and we're done actually with this article. Can you imagine that? Oh, thank you so much, Hannah, for your gift. The way you were describing Logart, you made him sound like Bukowski. More vile men never lived. We should look up some quotes from him. Let's do that. Let's search. Thank you, Hannah. Looking forward to that as well. Okay. Charles Bukowski love quotes. Ah, find On Love quotes by Charles Bukowski. Ooh! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, ooh! Are we ready for this one? Ooh. Do I censor that? I don't know. I will remember the hours of kisses, our lips raw with love, and how you offered me your soul, your insides, and how I answered offering you whatever was left of me. Ah, this genre, man. You know, another person that comes to mind from culture is what's his name? First name? Jane Birkin's man. Serge Gainsbourg. That's who. That's the my phone overheated because I was hotspotting. It was hotspotting for my laptop, and I just couldn't handle it. And dog came. Dog, Pes пришел. Тихо, да. Please, oh, using мой. Ой, родинки мой. И только cozy. You're so cozy. Да. Cutie pie. Cutie pie. Pitipot. Puchipan. Makudat sa braus. Charles Bukowski also says the following. We know so little. We know so much. We don't know enough. There is a guy who, like around here in the neighborhood here, who I often see drinking with his friends or random people. And these are the conversations that you overhear. It's like, we know so little. We know so much. The cosmos is so wide, and yet the earth is so small, and we're just this poppy seed floating in space, in the eternal immense space. We don't know enough. The most immense thing about beauty is finding it gone. Well, and this is a classical concept of defining something through the lack. And in this case, it points to me in an ability to savor something, to perceive something cleanly, to appreciate something, to be sensorily awake, to perceive something good, and instead being totally dialed in to perceive the lack, to validate just anything through the lack. So on the one hand, yes, we can be working with concepts, we can be working with things of the world, defining and understanding them through what they aren't, or we can also treat it as highly depressive, highly suffering gears of suffering dominant function of life in that person. So this one is also this classics of pessimism, I think. Then another one that I don't know, it's just such a funny attitude. I think novelists of mid-20th century are guilty of that. When you read them, they tend to over-dramatize things. They tend to, perhaps in the pursuit of redefining things in the new economical and political reality, they get swept in this strange over-conceptualization that's on the one hand overly sentimental, on the other hand overly radical, vulgarly emotional, I would say, compared to the classical ages. Almost like I don't know. I think from this day and age it sounds vulgar, to be honest. But this, God, love is more strange than numerals, more strange than grass on fire, more strange than the eye of a child around the bottom of a tub. We know so little, we know so much, we don't know enough. It's just this is what the whole body of that phrase was. We know so little, we know so much, we don't know enough. And that pursuit of knowledge, why do you want to know? Why do you want to know? Fixation on conceptualizing things, fixation on defining things, fixation on this trying to dismantle, rip something apart. Yeah, maybe part of normal human curiosity. But at the same time, I read it as very naive, childish approach. To me, this approach in general to philosophy, this approach to literature, this approach to lyricism is like 3-year-old throwing objects on the floor, trying to break them. This is how it sounds to me. Any in general act of nihilism when we try to comprehend, study something, or express something through destroying it, through bringing harsh contrasts to it, to me sounds a little bit childish with rather negative connotation. I don't know, that's my feel for it. I don't know why. Maybe I'm too but I don't know. I prefer more nuanced forms of art, including literature. There is a huge genre of those people on the brink of full destruction. People who do substances, people who destroy themselves, people who are deeply depressed, who create art, who are incredibly disappointed in everything, who look at the world through this lens of and this art somehow I don't know, it's pretty empty. It's pretty empty. I don't know. It's some there. I almost perceive there's some cry for like prove me. It's almost like a cry of a teenager. I didn't ask you to birth me. Why did you birth me? It's like that middle finger to life, middle finger to the world, and this provocation. It's like a teenager who starts, I don't know, doing substances, who tries to hurt themselves in an attempt to attract attention, or doing something like some crazy actions to try to draw attention to themselves. But it's expressed in the art form in the adulthood. And then, yeah, maybe it reveals something about the world, but art is not just revealing something about the world, it also shapes the perception. So I would not electively choose to be exposed to that. It's good to know that it exists, but I know that I would need to refill my mind with something that could rebalance my viewpoint of the world, something that could nurture the other perception of the world of mine. Why would I interact with this? Your lips, your insides, and it was for whatever you allowed me to be, allowed whatever is left of me to be inside of it. Some psychosis. It's very imbalanced. Really need to answer a question why. Deliberately get exposed to this. What's in it? What do you understand through it? Which it can be with some awareness, if it's not read, with an expectation to shape something inside of you. But to explore it like a psychiatrist, perhaps, explore it as a psychiatrist, to just see the facets of human mind and how it morphs, for instance, in response to abuse of substance, how it responds to the program, the self-destruction program, what it creates, what mind it creates, what perception of the world it creates. Perhaps it's something to observe, but again, as a researcher, as a psychiatrist, but perhaps not to embody it as like, oh, the world is such a place. Because I remember when I was in school, the cool kids in high school they were reading such literature. That was, in essence, like anti-culture literature. And it was cool, and they were like having this outlook in life, like, what do you understand? You're smiling. You're laughing. And I'm drinking, What else to do in life? There's no happiness. The world is a funny place to be, isn't it? This sophistication, this theatrical sophistication that was embodied through exposure to this literature. As if it offered the higher meaning of why things don't make sense. Same obsession, by the way, with Dostoevsky as well. Obsession with Tolstoy. People need to acknowledge that people suffered from psychiatric conditions as well. And their pieces of literature are to be read with a powerful observer in mind, not as a spiritual or worldview manual necessarily. I remember in school it was really difficult in literature classes, because our literature classes, the goal of them was to impregnate our minds with the viewpoint of classical critics. There was no floor for open discussion in our literature lessons. We were supposed, if we wanted to win a good grade in literature class, we were supposed to recite the words of a critic. That's it. Any viewpoint, any feeling induced by literature that was not matching the words of a critic was forbidden, was punished with bad grades. Can substances hijack the same reward systems that hormones influence? Yes. Substance can hijack almost anything from what I've seen and read. Yes. Substance make you feel okay doing nothing too much, because around 3 years pass and nothing in your life has changed. That's why I don't do substances, brusky digs. Great. I'm home alone, I'm bored. Still funky because I'm a weirdo. Paxton Bear. Bukowski was psychotic. Yes, the old art imitates life, life imitates art paradigm. Uh-huh. Did you go to the Pink Floyd school? No. Bukowski was known for being brutally honest, but this brutal honesty is more worth when it's channeled into oneself. What is this brutal honesty? I mean, brutal honesty is filtered. It's your perception of world. It's subjective. Bukowski wasn't known for being honest per se. He was known for not giving a damn. I can see the value, by the way, for perhaps some emotional freedom. For people who are but I don't know, still. You know, in Tantra, we pursue this balancing act. Some people are too impulsive. Some people are too destructive. For example, I cannot handle my own temper and I'm going to be saying things in people's faces. I'm going to be abruptly acting upon things without any thought. I will be soiling my relationships with just anyone with whatever first impulse comes to my mind. I will be fully swept by my moods and I will be just soiling every communication with whatever mood I'm in. There could be one scenario. This person can come to Tantra and be like, nothing works in my life. I'm just so tired. I always feel jittery. I'm always on edge. The balancing act is to bring them to be able to care for their next step, to create systems. Because a lot of times impulsive people who are just, who am I? I'm going to give up all controls. I'm going to act just like, poo, poo, poo. Whatever happens, I believe in destiny. This theater oftentimes lacks any form of structure. And lack of structure breeds suffering because structure is necessary for anything to work safely, to work long term, to be sustainable, to offer person some rest. A person who doesn't have structure never gets to rest because they're constantly reacting. They constantly need to dodge things. They constantly need to address things. There's no environment in which they can rest. There's no environment in which they can build something. There's another scenario. A person who calculates every step. A person whose body is locked. A person who cannot speak. A person who cannot laugh. A person who cannot express emotions. Who is terrified of emotions, terrified of their thoughts, of their words. Who try to be as convenient as possible, as small as possible. This regiment is possible. Anxiety, anxiety, anxiety. Nothing, no energy flows in their life. And they're just sitting there like that. The balance would be to find some fun, to find some impulses, to teach them to listen to impulses, to listen to the body, to find their own freedom, some flow. So that's how we balance these two extreme scenarios. Perhaps reading such literature that's like, the world, I don't care. Live or die, don't care. Nothing is worth it. May ease seriousness of treating, how we treat life. Maybe it can emphasize the temporary nature of life. Maybe it can emphasize the lack of purpose in life and thus free someone. But then it's my stance on that. My stance on that is that for everything that vandalizes beauty, like a child or a teenager, impulsive, aggressive teenager who don't know how to handle aggression yet, they try to vandalize something. They try to destroy something. They're being destructive. They're going to put graffiti. They're going to destroy some object. They're going to enjoy this act of power over something beautiful. I think there must be an element of balance there too, aesthetical balance. When we look at something vandalizing the idea of beauty, vandalizing the idea of life, soiling the idea of life, betraying the feeling of life, pushing us to this edge where it doesn't matter. It's all filth, everything is filth. It must be remediated with exposure to large volumes of something that highlights the other perspective, the opposite perspective of beauty, of harmony, of something very constructive, of something very elevating. So that's what I feel about that. But then if something needs to be remediated with that, for us to feel good, to feel belonging in the world, as opposed to feeling like, you know, those like gray reels with to this industrial music that show this is Eastern Europe. Why cultivate that? Why program the brain to gravitate towards that? It could be the element of darkness. Yes, I told you I do sometimes meditation. Some of the actually beautifying, some of the most beautifying, elevating meditations, I start with incredibly dark opening. I do start them with that. But they are devoid of imagery. They are devoid of perception of the world through that lens. I don't create the image of the world through that lens. I only work with the darkness that already exists with me. It's the gate to that beautifying process. That's how I emphasize it. It emphasizes the starting point, and then it keeps the balance, this background, as I work on these concepts. I keep this music going, this darkness going. But I don't add darkness. I just use the tools to get to my own darkness. To not get and to eradicate the darkness from within, to heal it, to find the root of it and to heal it, to connect with it, to remove it, to heal it, to replace it with something that I aspire to have inside. Teenage years are a hard time. A lot of teenagers are just trying to leave their mark. And they find that destructive means are easier and faster than creative means. Yeah. It's like claiming something. It sometimes feels like there are many more natural remedies than modern healthcare and commercial interests emphasize. Rusky digs. I don't know. Thank you, ladies, for flower rain. New notebook for Saturday. Yeah, workshops are actually a good idea to take notes for and then put them to practice. I guess we're going to skim through the previous workshop because it will be the continuation of the previous one. I hope nobody will be against that. Broski Diggs, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your gift. It's really pleasant. Thank you so much. Radios, Kiyushka. Woohoo! Yeah. Thank you so much. I love the support. I love how you guys are happy for it. It's so amazing. It's so pleasant. Thank you so much, Disappear. Goodbye. Goodbye. Join, by the way, next time. Now the animated gifts. Cute. Oh, it's a small but very good community that you've cultivated, Nasty, and it's growing as we can see. Yes, Shuriken. Super cool. How far we evolved, by the way. Remember, we were dealing with the quotes in the chat. Today, we actually led the quote trade and we ended up discussing whole artistic movement. We discussed literature today. Am I late to comment, Professor? No, the Great One, you aren't. I'm going to handle the discomfort and boredom in my own weird way. Thanks for being here, Paxton Bear. Discomfort and boredom in my own weird way. Thanks for being here. Well, enjoy, Paxton Bear. Let's see the Great Tone. I love this channel so much, for real, Broski Diggs. I love you too. Anna Lucy, ooh, that's delicious. That's cool. Thank you so much. Hello, I'm glad I made it. Very nice, I'm also happy. Dr. Tantra would be really catchy. Dr. Tantra. Propose handle. Do you think I should rebrand? Raw Form of Life, I created that logo and the name such that it would be versatile because, yeah, I was an advocate for raw veganism, but I knew that it was an experiment, so it kind of was a part of my approach to life in general. It was a part of some core movement of it. But I never marketed this green juicing because I'm never happy about it. So raw form of life translates, I think, to Tantra as well. But Dr. Tantra, though. Thank you so much, Hannah, for garden. There, Kiwa shares scoop. The great Tom, do you have any questions, by the way? Anyone? Questions, questions, questions. Any proposals, ideas? Raw form of life is really cool, but Dr. Tantra, people would know what you were about immediately. Yes, actually, something to think about, Dr. Tantra. What if I diversify? What if I next go get sexology degree, and I will be encompassing both Tantra and sexology, for instance? Then what? Because there are their own tools. I'm actually looking forward to studying that. So tempted to send fanatic Yushkum. How do we know when we're being impulsive or wherever we're making the right decision? How do we know when we're being impulsive or whenever we're making the right decision? The right decision and impulsive. Well, being impulsive and making the right decision, they're not on the opposite poles. They're not on the opposite side of spectrum to begin with. You can be impulsive and make the right decision. You can be completely calculated and ignore your impulses and make a very messed up decision, so they're not mutually exclusive. The golden standard for making decisions is when all components of yours are in agreement. When you feel this organic, animalistic connection with that decision, when you feel physical comfort making the decision, when you feel rational understanding and agreement and rationally weighed all of the options, and you came to some understanding and conclusion, and intuitively as well. I mean, it's similar to animalistic, I guess. All components of yourself, emotionally too, you feel emotional comfort making the decision. All components of yourself are in balance in that moment. It's not that, this guy is so nice, but every time I'm with him, for example, this guy is from a good family, he's very wealthy, he has good education, he wants to marry me and have a good family with me. But whenever I'm with him, I have a freaking migraine. My entire body just turns into this ladybug shape. I feel all tense. My entire exoskeleton forms. I turn into a rigid turtle. Aches commence. When he tries to kiss me or something, get close to my body, I feel panic attack. But my family is really in love with him and they think I should marry him. Will it be a good decision? No. Likely not. Or some impulse, some sexual impulse, for instance, arises and somebody is super attractive. If I don't weigh all the consequences of this attraction, for example, some people will just go do something without contraception even. Without any hygienic considerations. Or without considerations for contraception in the sense of pregnancy possibility. And it can be hit or miss. It could be the best thing that they've done in their life, found the partner for their life, or birthed the desired child. Or it can be totally worse thing. So it's good to connect some of the rational there. It's good to connect some of the reason, self-preservation perhaps, some controls. The optimal solutions are the ones that you can wait on perhaps. The solutions that are kind of a little bit past this inevitability, past your fatigue, past your exhaustion. The ones that you come to agreement with. Would be nice to actually regard it through like on the case-to-case basis. What decisions are there? Would be interesting experiment. Life loves life is a cool name, but it would suck if you had to change your email name if you rebranded. Professor, I want to know if you think there is a choice between enlightenment and suffering. And if the answer is yes, please explain. Choice between suffering and enlightenment. Choice. Kind of you need to choose between the two. Either you're enlightened or you're suffering. Girl form of answer is yes. We are. When you know you can die happy, knowing the decision you make is worth it in the end, that's when you know you made the right decision regardless of how it goes. Yes? Could be that metric as well. Yes, do people make conscious decisions to suffer over enlightenment? If they are if they know, if they have knowledge or idea that suffering is the currency, yes, for sure. It's a part of our cultural code. If you live with the mindset that suffering buys you anything, then yes, you're going to pursue suffering for sure because suffering buys you something. Enlightenment, we discussed in the previous stream. Enlightenment is clarity, but it's also partially neutrality. When you treat things for what they are, without building excessive concepts, without building excessive subjective things on them, on top of them. Outside of building some emotional filament, adding emotional filament to, in general, neutral, just factual events. So that can help with also steering away from the idea of suffering as a dominant. Raw form of Tantra. I like it. Girlie must be tired. Not so much actually. I walked so much today and that energizes me, usually surprisingly. Sadly, I missed most of the topic. I blame my thoughts. Give them. You never missed the topic. There's also so much philosophy that says that suffering is inevitable, suffering is what life is based on, and so on. The way we approach suffering also matters, heavily matters, because some people will settle for suffering, some people will be using suffering as the vehicle to get out of suffering through development, which is normal evolutionary path. That's how our brain evolved, to come to better conditions, to build better conditions through creativity, through creative force. But then separating, ungluing suffering from just anything in life is a very helpful first step conceptually, such that suffering is not tied to tomorrow's joy or tomorrow's pay or tomorrow's anything or yesterday's joy or yesterday's pay. It's just the consequence of some actions plus spontaneous and a statistical nature of the environment. That's it. This is what forms suffering. Some statistical event happened, or some actions you performed because you lacked experience, for example. So it feels like we always stumble onto useful topics when we get back and forth like this, yes? It's wonderful. Kiva, why crying? Madam, as much as your excuses for me are appreciated, I did miss it though. I'll take accountability. I respect that. I guess I also talked a lot before the stream. So, Shuriken, you should come to workshops too. They're also so good. Browski Dix, thank you so much for a shout out. I'm very happy that you enjoy them. Kiva, it's too bad. Go sit at the back of the class. It's just right though. On notes, it will help. Browski, I do need to get on that. Shuriken will be soon, in a few sessions, we'll be concluding the core course of Tantra, by the way. The core of Tantra. We'll be only down to some custom practices. Yeah, Shuriken, if you want to send me email, I'll send you the invite. You can just sit and do nothing, just observe if you wish. So, the great tone. Is breathing part of your coaching? Yes, it is. Doing nothing is what I'm best at. Kiwa is usually multitasking during the sessions. So, breathing is definitely a part. So, we have 3 classical breathing sequences in our work. Hannah Lucy, thank you, me too. Kivushka, unleash yourself. I'll definitely be multitasking this time. I really want to finish my project. Cool. So, any questions before I depart to walk my dog? So close, but I choose such a complicated pattern. It's awesome. Oh yeah, your works are incredible, Kiva. How often do you usually incorporate breathing into working with your Tantra client? Always. There is always a component of that because a Tantra client is a person who wants to find either solution to some very prominent problem, or the person who wants to find the meaning. And oftentimes it's people who are either exhausted or anxious, so different degrees of being overstimulated over extended periods of time. Some people come for curiosity without a particular request. They just want to explore how their body can function, how their mind can function as well. But that's rare. So, breathing practices as balancing practices that train the brain and the body to switch between different states and find balance in different states, bounce back to some balance. Those breathing practices are incorporated as the part of conditioning routine. Of conditioning routine, and then we have concept rebuilding. We have this rebuilding routine. So Tantra has those 2 blocks that work together. Thank you, Hanushka. Thank you so much. Yes, overstimulation requires breathing practices, yes. Hanam, to go to sleep. Good night. Thank you so much. I have no questions, surprisingly. I just hope you have a good day. Broskitets, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Uh, hope you have a wonderful day as well. An evening ahead, I guess, for you. Off-topic question. Are there any sewing updates? Yes, Shuriken, this is my... Neighbors are so happy. This is my sewing update. Whoop. This skirt. I had this leftover fabric and I finally got it done. Kiva, madam, thoughts and questions are the same, yes? But they can feel separate, right? They are thoughts and questions. Conceptually, they are the same, I think. How I perceive them, they are in the same compartment in my mind. Questions lead to thoughts. Questions are pouring out of thoughts. And formulation of question itself is a thought. I think they are the same. Their vector, however, is different because a thought can be self-contained. Thought can be self-sufficient. A question is a transient pursuit of new thoughts. In fact, in essence, question is the invitation for the brain to go on a venture again. So, question is more extended in time, more effort heavy perhaps, more unlimited. It's not open-ended. Oftentimes it's not open-ended. You're in a pursuit until you find the answer. So they have different dynamic, but they are from the same compartment, I would say. Thank you, Shuriken. It's actually so wonderful. I love it. It's so comfortable. I also put this, it's with lining, and I made this tailored clothing fold in the lining that adds extra give. It's so comfortable to sit in. It's so comfortable because I like lounging on the floor sometimes, especially on hot days. It's really comfortable, and it's so comfortable to wear it for it. My God, thoughts are and questions being an opposite spectrum would be so interesting if that was true. I see both a bit different, like Eva says. Thoughts are like passive data to me. Yes, perhaps, yes, also questions may be calling for more active processing. Yes, because thoughts can be perceived, imagine, in the forefront here. We can actively process thoughts, or thoughts can also be more passive, like somewhere here, not in the very forefront of our perception. Because even if I right now tell you to imagine just elephant, an elephant, some vague silhouette of an elephant will flash in your mind. Now, if I start giving you more details about the elephant, if I tell you where it's placed, the size, the details, conceptualization, age of this elephant, if I ask you to come up with a story about this elephant's life, it will be more here in the forefront. It will be more actively processed. It will be much more heavy-duty thing. So thoughts themselves can be classified as passive and active. And questions probably tie more to the active thoughts that require far more computational power than passive thoughts. Questions are more future-oriented, if that makes sense. Maybe your current questions are, but sometimes there are questions why, did he or she do it? How could I have prevented that? Why didn't I go there? There are people who are really stuck asking questions about the past as well, so I don't know. Comfort is for me the critical factor for any given garment. Yes, sure it can. It is. So many unwearable, beautiful things. I do agree that they're the exact same, but they're at different speeds. That's the best way I can explain it. Speed may be yes, or again, computational load, computational demands can also be. That's how I perceive that. How much resource I need to pump to process that. Why do we have a consensus as humans as to what's beautiful? Do we have a consensus? Humans are really heavily influenced by what they see around. Humans are by robots that are constantly being bombarded with things. So the standards of beauty, they change because of some programming, because of some standards. If standards of beauty can be influenced in some pretty broad range, I should say, then this consensus is built upon some artificial programming. So, I don't know if we have consensus. The past is from which the future emerges. So if that's true, then thoughts are from which questions emerge. Mm-hmm. Yes. Another question, madam? Yes. We don't agree, not always. There isn't a certain way to find clarity, right? There isn't a certain way. There's a method for how to find clarity or how to maximize the chances of achieving clarity. I like to write things down and I like to build systems. To me, that's one of the powerful tools. When I get confused with a lot of data, like some like disordered information, this. To me, what helps is to put it into drawing, into tables, into graphs, into even words, some diagram on the piece of paper, on the whiteboard, and then to contemplate that. Sometimes that helps. If you're dealing specifically with working with masses of information. Visual, depending on your preferred channel of information reception, you should find the way that works for you. To me, it is visual arrangements. To me, it is building logical chains. How one thing flows from the other. Where is the missing piece? Where can't I build logical connection? Then I will be searching for this one. I will be searching for a detour. The way is Tantra, Broski digs, yay! So, for example, clarity can be found in an experiment. Possibly, yes. I like your careful wording. In an experiment, yes, but then you need to also build a system of how you process the data of experiment. The experimental data in itself needs some treatment to bring clarity. Experimental data, I can measure. Let's say this is the table. I'm sitting at the table, at the desk right now. There's a lamp shining on my desk. And I want to know the temperature of my table. If I want to measure the temperature of my table, for example, from how a person on the outside would see it, like from huge distance, I would take some average. My table will be 1 pixel. If I want to measure the temperature right now as I'm sitting at it, I will need to mentally divide my table into segments and measure temperature and map it out because table now is of considerable size. Both experiments will give me the table temperature, but at different approximations. Then also, what I want to say is that if I want to measure the table temperature right now, like I'm sitting at it, I will measure, for example, one point here that's in the shade and without the laptop sitting on it. Will be one temperature, and then I will measure the temperature, let's say somewhere in proximity with the hot laptop, running laptop. There will be like 10-degree difference. I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh, what does this data mean? I don't know. So I need to describe the model. I need to build the experiment very clearly, define the experimental conditions, then plot my data, and then see if the data makes sense and for which model. Why am I measuring this thing? Do I need the finesse of measurement as I'm sitting here? Do I need a millimeter by millimeter by millimeter resolution in my temperature measurements? Or do I just need some snapshot from the space, from the drone of the table, like some average? I need to know that. I'd argue that defining a present moment is impossible. Therefore, you could say that there is no past or future either. I believe that all moments are concurrent. I guarantee if you would find very similar polling as to what is beautiful, women, chipmunks, puppies, cars, mountains. Depends again on the finesse that you want to explore. Some people hate the sea, they don't find it beautiful. Some people hate the mountains, they find them ugly. Some people hate the desert, they find it scary. Some people find certain facial features off-putting or certain body features incredibly attractive that nobody else seems to like that much. By the time information reaches your brain, information already occurred. So living in past, very slightly, while it's always slightly future in reality. So yes, I agree. You got it, Vrelsky. But to say that means past and future don't exist, that is an interesting idea. If intangibility means not exist, then yes, past and future isn't existence because it's intangible. But I'd say intangible is from which tangible comes. So without intangibility of time, maybe life doesn't become tangible. Look into the many world interpretation. I think it may be accurate. It avoids all so-called time travel paradoxes, for example. Oh, Brodsky digs and sure you can short-circuit it. I like many world interpretation, but I don't think they're copies of the same things, but slightly different. That would be a waste of storage. I think if they are multiple worlds, they're different, vastly different. Let's go back to Kibo. I will keep it in mind. I was thinking it to be a certain experiment done a certain way, with clarity need to be found before possibly attempting to move what is observed in practice to maybe or possibly daily life. Would clarity need to be found before possibly attempting to move what is observed in practice to maybe or possibly? Why maybe or possibly? Here are my soft wording queen. To maybe or possibly daily life. No, clarity. Would clarity need to be found before possibly attempting to move what is observed in practice to maybe or possibly daily life? You are talking about what is already observed. You're talking about the fact that you observed. It's a fact. You observed it. It's an observation. You repeat this observation. You can use it. If it's you can see how you can use it, and maybe through that you will find clarity. It's careful wording. Wow, look how much your brain's evolved because of Tantra. It's wild. I was never this smart in my entire life. Infinitely different is what they must be. Oh my god. So clarity is with daily life, not separate. Might be. I'm also exploiting. Careful wording. On that note, I must depart and get dinner together. Thanks so much, nesting friends. Take care until next time, and I hope everyone has a wonderful one. Thank you so much, Shuriken, and I'll see you next time, and send me an email if you decide to join. Can't wait to see more of you, Shuriken. Your brain works very good. Just kidding. Yeah, you found each other. Yeah, if it's not found yet, then it can be applied, yes? But you said you're observing something in practice. That's observation, it's a fact. Yes, observing, but not certain. You will see applicability limit. There's nothing scary in, perhaps, I don't know how you feel exactly, but should be nothing scary in applying it to real life. It wouldn't have to be certain, madam. I would like us to formulate a task in a simple, concise fashion, such that we remove uncertainty from formulations and formulate what exactly we want to accomplish. Clarity in what? Applied to what? And perhaps why are we asking the question to begin with? Ego can be certain even if it's wrong. To call it clarity. I haven't got that far yet. Ugh. Dial the light down a little bit. I'll start producing some what is it? Melatonin, right, for sleep. So, to call it clarity, I haven't got that far yet. But you can surely apply things in real life. Depending again what your goal is. I always will be bringing you back to the question of the goal. Because the clarity lies in the goal. Whether your experiment fulfills your goal or whether your experiment detours you from your goal. Whether your pursuits are moving away from the goal. Thank you so much, Daxline. Thank you so much for your gift. Thank you for being here today. I guess I'd argue clarity is a choice. Chad, it's totally fine. Thank you so much, Dax. Ура, support! Yes, девушка. Question, yes. So, I need to admit, Kiva, I'm a little bit confused. That's why I want to spiral to the next round. And actually, I want you to formulate the question such that we can see every bit of concern, every bit of nuance in it. Because I want to perhaps help you come to that clarity. I want to see the clear statement of what we're solving. Thank you so much. To get context to the question. Yes, because it's been a lot of layers. It's been a lot of back and forth. And the initial impression of mine might not be corresponding to where it evolved now. I have to create a goal. I will help you. If you don't mind, I will write down questions that I want answered, and perhaps that will help us find common ground and then also solve the problem. Because I can't tell you like, yeah, to go create goal. No, it's not that. No. I will try to put it together in a very structured form, such that we have some easy to work with elements of this issue. This is the end of this stream. I think that's how the system mismatch happens. Well, let's select the focal point here. I really want to find the focus of the problem right now. This is something that I really crave, because I feel like I lost it. Great tools independent of mind, I think of space itself and her tokens of existence. Oh guys, I'm actually going to go problems because I need to sleep. I need to be up tomorrow early, so goals was something before, remember, but I made no progress. Don't think about it as no progress. You had priorities, so you were addressing those. And a mismatch can occur when what you should become and what you define as enjoyment or suffering become one and the same. This is something what can happen. Which can occur. Interesting. Thank you so much, Dax. You also have a great night. Focus on the solution. The problem is not important. David Borky. That is next step. Sometimes problem. Describing the problem in detail is the first step to finding solution. We cannot just ditch the problem statement. We cannot ditch the problem description. By the way, I don't know. I think I'm confusing you, madam, a little bit. Chunky cat. Bye-bye. Well, I hope you have a great time. I'm so excited for workshop. Rescue Day. The same. Let's not focus on confusing. Let's not be sorry about anything. Let's find focus, what we're working on, and let's understand what we're working on exactly. That will help. It's how my mind understands it. Kazuya Lerby, wrong chat. Wrong chat. Thank you so much, Chad. So don't ditch the problem. No, don't ditch the problem, but describe the problem fully, properly. Oh, God. Can we accept the fact that we cannot focus and just accept the outcome and still have a high level of peace? Oh my god. Can we accept the fact? Can you accept the fact? We accept that we cannot focus and just accept the outcome and still have a high level of peace. I don't know who you, as a group, who you are. I don't know. Oh, I think I'm gonna sign off, guys. Thank you so much, and Kiva. Let me sit with text. Most problems I see is ways to find new discoveries. Yes, it's great. It's like mathematical problems for sure. Bye, Brasky Diggs. Problems, I read them as mathematical problems, not as like issues. Okay. Semantic difference. Chad, I sent you the link. It's on Saturday. This Saturday. Kiva? No, sorry. No, sorry. There's a problem. We are lying to work on it. So, no, sorry. And the next workshop, thank you. Great time myself, assuming I'm not the only freak who cannot focus. Focus, if you want great tone, if you want topic on that, we can talk about working with focus. So, we can discuss that with practical tips. Because focus problems, we worked on them kind of tangentially, not tangentially, they were actually in the spotlight of some conversation of ours once. And it would be nice to devote a topic, devote a whole live stream to that. So we can talk about it separately. I think I probably have too much data information. It's too a confusing point. But summarizing it and putting it in a concise issues like problem statement, like writing it, you know how in a good example would be a math problem. For example, you are dictating a problem to children that a car left city A with a speed of 40 miles an hour. From the city B, a bus departed with 35 miles an hour speed. Thank you so much, Chad. So, when will then the car, for example, took a stop at the point C, at the city C, and then the bus circled around. When will they meet? When we see this text in math, we always like first thing that we do, or in physics, we need to write it into a very obvious form. Give it some factual structure. And then we ask the question in the end. What is the main question? How do we define it? And that first initial step of problem statement, writing it into a mathematical algorithmic form, is what gives us clarity, the initial clarity, because we at least know what are we solving for. And we see what is the missing data here, and we see, okay, how are these parameters related? What can I calculate from that? It's not summarized. It's structured into a problem statement. Like there is this issue, or this data, this data, this data. This is unknown. And this is unknown. But there is a relationship between these unknowns, for instance. Every day has its own problems. No worry, be happy. Thank you, David. Thank you, David, for your wonderful recommendation. One reason calculus stripped of empirical nomenclature and mentioned that parameters and data variables are complex, complicated and complex. Phew. Daniel Williams, hello. Such agitation towards the end of the stream. David Burki, laughing hard. Okay. Alright guys, thank you all so much for today's stream. It was really fun, new format. I think we'll incorporate something like that on different topics from time to time, because thank you so much, Neil, so for your kind words. Thank you so much. Hope you're well. So we're going to try to see and research different fun quotes, different fun statements, different cultural phenomena, and try to break them down through the tantric lens, through the lens of the balance, through the lens of freedom and authenticity, bodily autonomy. Right, guys. Love seeing you, Nasty. It feels like it's been a long time. Yeah, Chad, I haven't seen you in a while. But I also, by the way, stream less frequently now. It's not a thing. Hope you're doing well, actually. I remember your story with, oh my god. I hope your story with that lady is developing, or at least giving you some pleasant emotions. Kiyushka, thank you so much. Я верю, что искреннее чувство заботы должно существовать, независимо от того, знакомы люди лично или нет. Как ваша подписчица, хочу сказать, что вы очень много знаете, дорогая моя. Я правильно мыслите. Пусть никто не портит вам настроение. Thank you, madam, for your help. Кирюшка, спасибо вам большое. Спасибо вам большое. И мне очень нравится прогулка в вашем исследовании. Вы знаете, мне очень это нравится. Для меня это, скажу честно, для меня это, да, это челлендж. Очень интересный и очень необычный, потому что вы действительно работаете над этим вопросом как ученый. И это для меня очень стимулирующая деятельность, потому что я имею дело с человеком, который очень требователен, очень внимателен к деталям и очень заинтересован в теме на совсем другом уровне. И это очень круто. Я вам очень благодарна за это. Это очень интересно. И проходить вот эти вот узлы некоторого сопротивления тоже становится безумно интересно. Я очень рада, что вы занимаетесь этим вопросом настолько серьезно. И не извиняйтесь, пожалуйста, за какие-то вещи, которые становятся возможно, где-то трудными, где-то вызывают вопросы, где-то вызывают столкновения, потому что это все части очень удовлетворяющего творческого процесса. Это огромное удовольствие. Очень приятны ваши добрые слова, Кивушка. Спасибо вам большое. Спасибо большое, Кива. The great Om, thank you so much. And Broski as well. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Confused. What are getting confused? Will confuse them. You will confuse them. Кузька, иди приветик скажи, гулять сейчас пойдем. Идешь? Нет? Собака. Thank you so much, Кивушка. Let's continue working on that. Thank you guys and bye-bye.